Track baby, track another one.
Duse M, PT.
Jump on it, jump on it, jump on it. Jump on it, jump on it.
Jump on it, ride it like Jockeys in hell, smoking that loud, lacy yak with mouth. Make your mama proud, popping it like shot. Turn up, it's a gangster party.
PT ain't never popped a Molly, but if I ever catch Mac, I'ma pop a Holly. I don't even rob a cop the Harley. Blowing so much green, I shame Marley. Yeah, I push the line to its full limit. Hit the hole like 22, boy, I'm a young Emmett. Nothing go like snow, now that's a cold image. Still whistling, sending, knocking them white women. Only reason I do it to avenge image. To the day they go before they box me out. Knowing me, it don't matter, I simply change my route. On my hobby.
Where's? Let me fix my TV, my computer, man. Let me fix this. Bang that like button. Bang that like button. You know what I'm saying? There we go. We fixed it. We can take this off. You know what I'm saying? We just got it. Just getting in from the party. Went to the Mexican party, you know what I'm saying? I didn't even have a drink, you know what I'm saying? But let me get ones in the chat. You know what I'm saying? Kading said he's not CS2 back. All he was doing is keeping a confidential source confidential. That's his job. Epic fail for my nigga back. Yeah, that was a nasty work, bro. Y'all go ahead and bang that like button. We got the content. Let me see ones in the chat. Okay, ones in the chat. Renegade Duchess, salute. Thank you for that one in the chat. So now I know that we own. You know what I'm saying? Now that I know that we own, you know what I'm saying? Tell me if y'all can hear this when I play this, right? Yeah. Let me know if y'all. Could y'all hear that? Bang that like button. Bang that like button. I'm a little thirsty, you know what I mean? We got some good stuff that's going to help Big U. If you're on IG, go to @ActiveChucks. Oh, that's supposed to be a at, not a 2 on IG. I pinned it. Go to ActiveChucks on IG or Twitch. You know what I'm saying? We definitely got the content. So let's see who all up in here. We already seen Yay Area Detroiter with the great comment. You know what I'm saying? Let's go. Free Big U until it's backward, man. I got some stuff that can really help Big U. And that's why we finna do this today. Yo, what's good, dudes? Devin Statzer, Stats D 720, Wrench Mob, Wrench Gang here, Discretion TV. Okay, salute, Lou from the Lou. Salute, Red Heart, Blue Heart, Active Chucks, DAMU KIWE Tribe. Make sure you smash that like button. Get active, stay active. Deuce and y'all. Hey, man, Yay Area, Devin Statzer. Where you at, Deuce M, the Don? Man, I just left. Salute my boy Clubhouse Crazy TV. You know he going up when Clubhouse Crazy TV in here. This is, with matter of fact, we finna go back to that. Today, tonight, you know, tonight, nigga. You know what I'm saying? We going back to that. You know what I'm saying? We going back to that. When Clubhouse Crazy TV was putting me breaking down the Title III wiretap of CS2 back, while we doing that, it took 10 minutes for Wack100 to get Greg Kading and Reggie Wright Jr. on Clubhouse to defend, to convince us that he wasn't working with them. Imagine that. Spirit Wonder, Wes. Salute to the DAMU KIWE Conversation, to the greatest chat in the world, the greatest chat in the world. Neezy Cobb, salute. You know what I'm saying? Hey, listen, y'all, bang that like button. I promise y'all, we got something good for y'all today, man. Just hang around, man. Y'all ain't gonna want to miss this one. This one gonna be one of them. Outlaws Wrong One. Sup, Duse M, the Don. You got fans watching in the Bahamas. Keep up the good work and fuck Wack100. Hey, Outlaws Worm, make sure that you follow me on Instagram at Active Chucks, right? So the next time I'm in the Bahamas, I pull up on you, smoke some good reefer, have some rum or something, you know what I'm saying? And then we can have get to know each other on a more positive note. I probably have Maria. I'll probably be bringing Maria to the Bahamas soon, you know what I'm saying? And but salute to you, salute to the Bahamas, you know what I'm saying? Fantasy Bambi, hey Deuce, Miles in the chat. JG, amazing Glarious Brothers, salute. Hit that like button. Okay, so look, might as well let me get my wrench over here too. You know, I fuck with you tough. Nah, bro, we have meetings and all of that. We have to take wrenches from everybody, bro. What's good, Deuce? This little Pablo Steve, what's up, bro? You gonna have to come get me for the weekend, next weekend or the week after or something. If you in Wisconsin still right now, what's good with it? You already know, Lowe's. You know what I'm saying? Pablo. You know what I'm saying? Salute, man. You know what I'm saying? Fruta, Pablo, Sangre, Drew V. We got the hey, Miss Lisa, Renegade, Spirit Wonder, you know what it is. Hold on. We got my boy Wack100 in the building. God knows best. Love you, my other mother's son, man. Hey, man, nothing but love. You already know that. Wack100 is in the building. Salute to the brother, man. Prayers over you. Prayers over your family, your son. You know it's love. You know what I'm saying? I went down the rabbit hole. I didn't know Wack was the reason Boosie went to jail and Pop Smoke getting unalive. He tells on himself a lot. Oh, man, see, Fantasy Bambi them went and found some stuff. My guy, Bo Money, what's up? Yeah, Wack100 said, I know, appreciate you, man. I appreciate your life. How about that? I appreciate your life. So look, Jason Hyde, he said ETE is forever. Hey, man, that's a fact. So check this out. Let me get to the good stuff. You know what I'm saying? Damn, I didn't even send it to John Jr. I know he gonna be mad if I don't he gonna be mad if I don't run this content. You know what I'm saying? So I was fighting with ChatGPT about CS2 back and the Crip cop, you know what I'm saying? And then I ended up getting what I was looking for, but first we finna get into this content. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And I think we gonna start. What video is this? Let me make sure. Oh no, that's tomorrow's content. We gonna be on this Jay-Z and Pusha T getting caught at oh yeah. So look, I exposed this CS2 back. Y'all remember that, right? Clubhouse, Crazy TV Media Network. I think he done took it down once they put it in the paperwork of the World Star thing. I told him don't take it down. Southern Force, if you in the goo, let me know. Let's get right into the content. I'm gonna take y'all back to when it was going down. Let's go. So we're in the real Damu Love exposing the on Clubhouse exposing the CS2 back Title III wiretap paperwork, and within 10 minutes, Wack100 opens a room on Clubhouse. This is from Clubhouse Crazy TV Media Network, the OG YouTuber before I was even doing the YouTube. I mean, I was viral on the internet, but I wasn't streaming myself. Let's go.
To Greg Kading. Greg Kading was the lead investigator.
Oh yeah.
I'm probably saying this shit wrong. He'll tell you more on that case. To where fuck it, Greg. Tell them who you are.
That's funny. So yeah, I was a cop in LA. I ended up working on Tupac and Biggie's murder investigations back in the 2000s, and then I left and wrote a book about it called Murder Rap. So yeah, I had an opportunity to kind of like dive deep into all of the different theories and accusations and ideas behind what had happened with both Pac and Big, and that's it.
All right, so Greg, Reggie sent you a document, and I'm looking at that and looking at the names. MS, I'm identifying that as Mark Stevens. DD, I know is Dale Dog, and they got a name on there called BACK, BACK, and it has some shit. Let me pull this shit up so I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Back, and it has some shit says CS2. Now, can you tell the people what my position in this case? How did Cash Jones, Wack100, how did I get involved or implemented in this case with the Stutterbox?
Okay. So it all started when there was an FBI agent who told us that he had an informant that could potentially give us some information about Suge Knight that may help us further our investigation.
Hey, listen, I'm gonna take this. I'm sorry, chat, but every time I hit that, I don't know why. It's King Buck Wells. Salute.
The murders of Tupac and Biggie. That's where it all started. And so we went and met with this informant, and it turned out to be Box. And we sat down.
All right, I'm gonna have to turn
on Melrose or Santa Monica, and he pulled up in his Bentley, and we sat down at a Starbucks and started chop it up, and he gave us this information that led to you. And so we didn't know what was real.
What the hell was the information that led to me?
Well, the information was that if we looked into you, we might find some things out that would help us maybe get some leverage on Suge. So it was just like that. And so we're like, all right, we didn't know any better. We're like, well, the FBI says this guy, is worth listening to.
So the guy we talking about that's worth listening to is Stutterbox.
Right.
So Greg, before you go any further, how long does a motherfucker gotta be like working with the FBI before they're calling a guy like you that's investigating the case as serious as you have to say he's a reliable source?
Well,
Greg, explain to him the different level of informants you have, and that answers the question better.
So there's a CI, which is a confidential informant. There's a CRI, which is a confidential, reliable informant. There's a witness. There's different levels of informants and sources of information. And so as cops, we're just going to listen to everybody. And in time, you prove whether or not they're reliable or not. But you don't just disregard somebody because you haven't proven their reliability. So, I don't know what Box had going on, the whole Main Street thing and all his drama and background going on with that case. I became involved in it later, but at that point in time, they're just saying, hey, you should talk to this guy. He may be able to give you some information that will help with your case. That's it.
Hey, Greg, so could you tell them what level they told you that he was? Was he reliable? Was he a CI? Had he worked in the past for him? Or what, if you could tell just a different level that that they represented to you that he was?
Yeah, and to be perfectly honest, I don't remember exactly what the, language was or what the, qualifications were. It was just like, hey, we have this guy, says he can help you guys out. We're working with him on something else, and so, give him the time to hear him out, and that's it. I don't remember if they said he's established as reliable.
You portrayed him as a reliable, meaning that he gave reliable information in the past in the movie. Just FYI.
It's a movie, so people do what they're going to do to make these stories more entertaining. I'm just telling you that what actually happened.
It was your movie.
Box, hold on, Reggie. When you got with Box tells you that it's this guy that if you look into him, Mike could give you or lead you to him doing some illegal business with Suge Knight. That was his whole thing.
So Box then told him that Wack is moving shit dope with Suge Knight. That's what's going on. If you get Wack, you could get some leverage on Suge. Let's go.
Yes.
And that guy was me.
You're right.
So where did it go from there?
So we said, all right, we'll give this information the benefit of the doubt. And we began to kind of look at you and figure, okay, well, the claim is that they're doing interstate transportation of narcotics. And so we do what we do in order to determine if there's any truth to that. And so we start investigating you. And as you know, it runs its course. We don't find anything incriminating or anything to validate the claims that Box had made. And then
what steps did you take, Greg? Like the things happened to me with my home. Like y'all really fucking looked into me.
Yeah, we did. We looked into you. We wiretapped you and started to track your truck and do everything we could to verify whether or not the information that we were receiving was valid. And ultimately it turned out not to be. We did a search warrant at your house and came up pretty much empty-handed, with the exception of some worn-out old gun that I think belonged to your wife's.
Now you done fucked up, right? See, you done fucked up, right? Because first and foremost, you know what I'm saying? You said that it was only an old, worn-out gun. Who cares about the condition of the gun? Whether it was operable or not, an ex-felon in possession of a gun is something. The fact you're minimizing that was suspicious off the gate. But even more than that was that we went and found the audio where Wack admitted that it was more than one gun that was found. So you minimize it as if it was only one old gun that was inoperable or just old, or it might have belonged to his wife's father. All of these were key in identifying that Greg Kading was being less than truthful about this situation. Let's go.
Dad or some shit like that. And that was it. It was ultimately a fucking waste of time.
All right, so then I then came down to, I believe that's the federal headquarters on fucking Wilshire. I think my representation at the time might have been Jeff Brody, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the story is, when I came down to Wilshire, I came down there to inform and not pick up whatever little items I had, or I don't know what the fuck that was, but I know I had to come down to that Wilshire building, and I came down with my legal, which was Jeff Brody. I guess his whole narrative is I went to the Wilshire building to inform, which I don't know why I would have to inform because I was never subject to any arrests or anything like that. So you let them know what my trip down to the Wilshire building entailed.
Yeah, so I remember that day, and you came down there, and we basically just confronted you on the allegations and, explained to you why we were doing what we were doing, giving you the opportunity, with the hopes that you would know something that could help us out. Turned out you really didn't have any information that was beneficial to what we were pursuing.
You didn't have any information that was beneficial to what we were pursuing. So you're saying that he did have information, but none of it was beneficial to what you were doing. So there was a conversation. Well, the bad thing about that is whenever you cooperate with a deputized federal agent, and Greg Kading and Darren Dupree were deputized federal agents as he led the federal joint task force. They LAPD officers, but they know how to be deputized as federal agents to have jurisdiction to take investigations past just LA County or the state of California, where they can go interview Money Mark Stevens in Georgia. You know what I'm saying? And that's exactly what happened with Paul Fournier and Detective Michael Coet. They went and interviewed Money Mark Stevens, Shaquille O'Neal business partner. So if you talk to him, that means you waived your Miranda rights. You weren't never supposed to do that. Not with the feds. So you talk to him, admittingly. Greg Kading's admitting that. So that means that there's documentations that you signed a waiver of your Miranda rights. You agreed to talk to these people. So where that paperwork at, what? On top of that, they were going to record, take notes, take notes of what's being talked about, different key points that they want to reinforce and evaluate about whatever you're talking about, whether it was the multiple guns they found in your house, whether it was the wiretap that they said they caught you on. They want to know more about it, and you thinking that you're going to talk your way out of it, but that's not how it works with the feds. You're going to have to give up something. You're going to have to give up a body. Where that work at, Wack? 60th floor? Where that work at, Wack?
That was it. We said, hey, here's why we're here. Here's how we got here. And this is all there, ultimately is to it, unless you have something you want to tell us, which was essentially nothing.
All right. And then in your paperwork, I don't know. How was I referred to? Was I referred to Wack, Cash Jones? They have this Back name. I don't know who the fuck Back is. I don't know. I know I've never had that moniker, but I don't know. Maybe it was some coded shit. Or how did you recall referring to me through all the paperwork when you guys were like listening in on my wiretaps? So like saying, okay, this is Wack, this is Cash Jones on the wiretap. What was I referred to in your because I've never looked over that paperwork, never had a need to. What was I referred to?
Well, you would have been identified as referred to most likely as like a target. And like your phone would have been target number, or your license plate would have been target, whatever. It would have been, clearly understandable to anybody reading it that this has something to do with this car, this phone, this person. We wouldn't have referred to you as an informant because you never were. We would have referred to you as a target or a source of, not a source of information, because you weren't even that. So, I'm a little vague on it right now because it's been a while, but you would have been we would have referred to you by your name, Cash Jones. We don't usually use monikers under those circumstances. like Wack or Wack100. It would just been, a target.
I don't think Wack100 existed yet.
It may not have.
No, he wasn't created.
I don't know.
All right. Well, listen, man. Reggie, I fucking appreciate you. This was a guide in because I don't like to do all the back and forth about the shit. T, you here?
Yes,
Come
sir.
on, Mike. I tried to get Lamonte, the guy who had the allegations. T, Beast, y'all got any questions?
I tried to get Lamonte. You trying to get Lamonte to come into your clubhouse room where you have a deputized federal agent, your handler's partner, on there, and he's debating with me. No. We not about you being a rat. See, this was the old 3-card Molly trick, right? Since when did a nigga clear his name from snitch allegations by bringing the police or the courts to do it? Nigga, you get your paperwork and bring it to the table. I don't know how y'all fall for the foofer move every time. Oh, I'm going to bring Wookie Woo. Oh, what's the name said this? He can verify. Nigga, fuck who can verify it. Bring your work. That's the only thing that we can't argue with. Bring your statement. Try to argue with the police. Fuck. The police investigating you. Go vouch to the world in the streets that you weren't working with the police who was investigating. Imagine that. Oh, yeah, well, we had Wack100 working for us, you know what I'm saying? So I get why you would think he was a snitch. Imagine a deputized federal agent admitting to that. Get the fuck out of here. Let's go, man.
Anything you may feel like you want to ask. I wasn't over there in this room.
They said something about you going somewhere to 100 and something floors.
No, that's the federal building that he said I came to with my attorney.
Right.
He addressed that. Beach, you got any questions?
I just seen Ghost come in. He was one of the ones over there.
Bang that like
Ghost. No, that's the dude. What is he? Just GHOT?
Yeah, GH.
This nigga so spooked. He said Ghost was over there. He said, well, how is that? Is it GHOT? How you get GHOT from Ghost? Man, this nigga was over here shaking like a snitch at a gangster party. This nigga was shaking like a loose transmission, man.
Well, shit, I don't hear T. You grab him if you're down there. I really wish one of them was in here, but
let's get them likes up. We got 130 people in here
I know
with 40-something likes. What's up with that?
He got a thing for me, so he gonna ask some great questions. Yo, Greg, how successful was that movie, man, on Netflix, man? It's still one of the top picks I see up there, the Unsolved.
They got it pretty much right. It's Hollywood, so they've got to do their thing in order to make it entertaining. So I'm not going to say it's 100% accurate, but as far as the investigation goes and the conclusions of the investigations, it was solid. I truly believe.
Hey, cut from a different cloth. No, the federal, he says, how was Greg deputized on the box case when it was state? He was only deputized in the Biggie case. They mixing both cases. No, we're not missing both cases. All of the cases have some of the same players. The Biggie murder investigation, if you remember, Box got caught with a fake ID that said his name was Amir Muhammad. There was an informant who said that Amir Muhammad was the name that was in jail that said he got word that Amir Muhammad was the name of the hitman who knocked down Biggie. So that crosses and mixes with it for one. For two, Box caught a high-speed chase, drug case, and I think a burner case, as well as a fraud case, a $7 million fraud case. He ended up going to the feds. Greg Kading sent that nigga to the feds. So it's not, and mind you, he was also the victim, right? Greg Kading specifically, the whole joint task force was deputized. Paul Fournier, Detective Michael Coet, the Creole broad that Wack said Box brought to the thing, that was a Fed, Darren Dupree, Greg Kading, their whole crew were deputized federal agents. In fact, we gonna play the audio where Scandalous Los Angeles interviews Greg Kading, and he asks them about the Main Street case, and they said that they wanted to take it, they wanted to federalize it. In fact, I got the picture on the calendar the day that he met with him and told him, he said all police officers don't know how to federalize investigations because they have to get deputized and all of the prerequisites, etc. Right? So, and Del Dog did go to the feds, bro. See, you had the Main Street Mafia Crips investigation by the feds, ATF. They were under investigation for home invasions out of state, all the way in New York, bro. Right? Drug dealing out of state. They were under investigation for all of this. In the midst of this, the death row investigation of Biggie Smalls and Tupac Shakur is going on, right? The task force investigating the task force and then take over the case where Stutterbox attempted blackmail and extortion of Shaquille O'Neal and Mark Stevens. His crime partner on the attempted extortion and co-conspirator would be Wack100. Wack100 was still an employee of Deja 34 Records. He was sent by Stutterbox with the alleged threat of the sex tape, saying TMZ would pay a lot of money for this, right? So the LAPD Box walked into the LAPD. The LAPD ended up getting the case taken by West Hollywood sheriffs when they realized that's where Box was kidnapped from. It had that jurisdiction, but then because he was beat over here, LAPD and Detective, what's his name? I have to go through the paper. Mark Arenas. Detective Mark Arenas for the LAPD ended up taking the case for special robbery and special crimes. And then that's when the Joint Task Force sent Detective Michael Coet and Paul Fournier to take over the case. That who ended up being the lead on the case. Detective Michael Coet and Paul Fournier were both deputized as federal agents. They were trying to do that. So now, as far as the kidnapping of Stutterbox, robbery and assault of Stutterbox by 6 Main Street Crips as allegedly ordered by Liddell Rawls, that case was state. That was at CCB court, right? But after that case, Del Dog ended up at MDCLA. Y'all acting like y'all didn't know that. Del Dog was in MDCLA, 7 North. Was he on 7 North or 7 South? 7 North. Right? So, yeah, they definitely have a federal investigation going on the Main Street Crip, not including the kidnap, assault, and robbery of Stutterbox. Let's get back to
it. I'll say I know that what we said in the ultimate explanation for how Pac and Big died, I know that to be the truth.
Gotcha.
Hey, Greg, did you ever hear that interview with Biggie's mom where she said she believed 97% of the information from that To be accurate?
Well, I did actually, and more importantly, that's exactly, you know, when I met with her and spoke with her, that's what she told me face to face. And so, you know, she's caught in a weird position. You know, she's just it's a tough position for her to commit to anything. A, because of the amount of money that got spent trying to pursue a false theory, and B, she has to keep things open for her grandkids, because ultimately, if new information came out that was reliable and provable, her kids could open up that lawsuit again. I'm sorry, her grandkids could open up that lawsuit again. So she's in a position where she has to play it strategically. I think she believes what I had to say was true, but she doesn't know in the depths of her heart that it's true. And so she's just...
He said the Fed stopped the Biggie investigation in 05.
Keeping things open.
Hey, you 100% right. They stopped the Biggie investigation in 05, and then they started it back up with a new task force, which was headed by Detective Greg Kading. Facts. So you were right, but you were also leaving out the fact that the joint task force was reassembled to get off of the refiling of the $400 million lawsuit by Biggie Smalls' estate, Faith Evans, and Biggie Mom. So as soon as they did that, that's the reason they started the task force. They needed plausible deniability in a civil case, so that the state wouldn't get bankrupt. LA City wouldn't go bankrupt from a $400 million lawsuit. Let's go.
No, I think 97% is a high percentage, though.
Yeah, like I said, I'm 100%. So it's never going to go anywhere, you know. But I don't fault her for doing it the way she's doing it.
Hey, I know because I know because I've been contacted by him. What do you think is going to happen on the Keefe D situation? I know we're getting off subject, but I think they wait for somebody to come up to ask you a question. Can you divulge if you've been contacted recently on that matter? I put out a video on Bomb First about 2 months ago saying that I believe that Keefe D is going to be arrested soon. I know that detective that's on the case is trying to close the case up. What's your feelings?
That's like Nevada now, right? Is that Nevada now, Reggie?
Yeah, we're talking about Nevada now.
Oh,
yeah. So it's on Tupac's case, and so yeah, I got contacted by the current investigator, who's apparently going to be retiring soon, and kind of wants to put this whole thing to rest once and for all before he retires. So I spoke with him, and you know, he said he's, you know, his intentions are to try to resolve the whole thing before he leaves, but whether that happens or not, we'll see. I mean, you know, there's so many different obstacles to overcome with this shit.
Oh, well, listen, man. Yo, T, anyone want to come up?
I sent Money Train the invite. Ghost ain't come back.
All right, well, shit.
They just like to talk here to you, Wack. They don't like to get the facts debated.
I mean, you know, like one thing about me, and one thing I remember Greg said to me when I went down there and we closed this shit out with my legal beagle, my attorney. He said, man, you different from the others. Just keep doing what you're doing, you'll be all right. So, you know, Reggie, I'm a thinker. I work outside the box. I may come from someplace, but that ain't as this man investigate. How many fucking months did you investigate me, Greg? 9 months, 8 months, 6 months? How long was that shit?
Oh, jeez, I don't know. It seemed like a long time. I feel like it was at least 6 months, because you know, we were doing several different investigations that were overlapping. We were doing the whole Main Street thing with Dog and, you know, all the shit.
They were doing multiple, where the guy at? They were doing multiple investigations that were overlapping. they were doing the Main Street case. Y'all got to really pay attention. Who was that? I think that was Cut Cloth, right? Let me see. Who was that? Who was that, right? Wait, we gonna find out who that was. Bang that like, but bang that like button now. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Cut from a different cloth. I think that's who it was, right? Or it was somebody. No Cap Network. Salute, bro. So there was an overlap of these cases. So that's where people get confused. But let's go.
Going on with Stutterbox and that whole thing at the same time. Like we're literally.
So that's the Main Street case. And then there was the Stutterbox situation, which him being the Main Street can get confusing. But it was a separate investigation. Blackmail, extortion, attempted blackmail, attempted extortion of Shaquille O'Neal and Mark Stevens. Then, as a victim, the actual assault, kidnapping, and robbery of him, which was a whole nother investigation. So yeah, it could get confusing.
In the same room, listening to the same phones.
Charges against the Main Streets.
What's that?
Talking about when he filed the kidnapping charges against those 7-8 dudes.
Yeah. So, you know, we were up on Dell's phone and I think some cat named Wood or something like that. And then I can't remember everybody, but like there's this whole large investigation going on with the Main Streets. And then we got Keefe D going on and then we got you going on. And so we're all in this room and just kind of cross-referencing everything, trying to figure out what's what. And so, I mean, there was a lot going on.
They came knocking on my door too.
And then, of course, yeah, and then of course the Reggie component to it all.
Frank.
Yeah, I'm on here.
I wasn't in that room over there, but any questions or anything you may have heard, this is the lead detective on that case and the documents. He been answering questions. Any questions or anything was on you may have heard over there that you want to ask a question about?
Nah, I was not really listening. I was trying to really get what they was trying to say at the end because I was driving, getting me something to eat, but I really didn't get a chance to really hear.
Oh, it'll be on the replay. Greg right here, he's the one unsolved. You see on Netflix, the Biggie Tupac thing, the book Murder Rap, which is still on damn, what's the name of that book thing? Because I downloaded. Where is it at, Greg? The book Murder Rap. Where can they find that?
I just pulled that off Amazon.
Amazon Murder Rap. Amazon author Greg Kading. You can go to the chapter called Stutterbox. You'll see photos of me and all that shit and the whole storyline of me, how I got implemented and all that. He breaks that down. He just answered all the questions. This little document I got a hold of. And he breaks down that I would have been identified as a target. Not a CI, a CS, or none of that. And my name would have been simply Cass Jones, not whoever this back dude is. So I don't want to hold you, Greg. Hey, Reg, I appreciate you for putting that screen.
No, also, Unsolved as well is where the main information come at in the TV show Unsolved, you guys.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. I know you can find it on Netflix. I watch at least once a month.
You watch Netflix?
Oh yeah, I don't think that truck driver looked like me, man. That truck driver dude,
Alonzo Zoe Scott.
He don't look like me.
Oh man, I had nothing to do with the casting of it, Cash. If I'd had something to do with the casting, I would just
Cash. I had nothing. Hey. If I would have knew who was doing the casting, I would have just called you. Hey, cut from a different cloth, bro. You way off. You ain't way off, but you off, bro. Your facts ain't together. You got to tighten up your shit. So check this out, right? And then we're going to get back to the content because if you ain't if you just arguing to argue and not arguing to get to the facts, then that's just a distraction from the content because we got the content. So after the original, you said that the task force ended in 2005. I told you, yes, it ended in 2005, but it restarted a year later in 2006 with a new task force. And just like I said, after the original joint task force investigating the murder of Christopher Notorious Big Wallace, which effectively wound down around 2005, law enforcement reopened a formal task force style reinvestigation in 2006. In July 2006, the Los Angeles Police Department announced a new task force composed of senior detectives to take a fresh look at Big's unsolved 1997 murder, partly in response to wrongful death litigation. See, the first litigation wrongful death lawsuit from the Christopher Wallace estate was a hung jury, bro. So they ended up paying her, I think, $1 million or $2 million in attorney fees from that, what you call it, so that she could refile the case, right? It took so much money and all of that stuff. So Biggie mom, y'all better be careful who y'all knock down out here. Some people, mamas ain't gonna stop it till you pay everything that they could get you for, both in jail time and or in lawsuits, right? So once she refiled the wrongful death litigation, they restarted another joint task force. So the cops that were on this task force, you're saying that there was no feds, right? When the LAPD relaunched a formal reinvestigation into the notorious Big Christopher Wallace murder in 2006, a new multi-agency, not just LAPD, a multi-agency task force of senior detectives was assembled under then LAPD Chief William J. Bratton to re-examine the cold case, largely in response to the wrongful death lawsuit. Here is what known about the officers and law enforcement personnel involved in that renewed investigation. Lead and key investigators, Detective Greg Kading, perhaps the most prominent member of the 2006 task force. Kading was an LAPD detective in the robbery homicide division and led much of the reinvestigation into both the notorious Big and Tupac Shakur murders. He later wrote about the investigation in his book Murder Rap, The Untold Story of Biggie Smalls and Tupac Shakur Murder Investigation. Detective Darren Dupree worked closely with Kading on the case and is commonly noted in accounts of the task force's work. Darren Dupree is CS two-back handler, or at least he was. Team composition. The task force was reported at the time to consist of 6 veteran LAPD homicide detectives assigned specifically to investigate Biggie's murder under the renewed probe. Captain Cal Jackson was appointed to oversee the reinvigorated investigation after Chief Bratton restructured the team and replaced the prior lead investigator. Other law enforcement involved. The task force collaborated with other agencies, including elements of the FBI and the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office, to review evidence and pursue leads, though specific individual agents are not routinely named in public reporting. Compton Police Department Detective Timothy M. Brennan was assigned to assist with the notorious BIG task force as part of the broader LAPD effort during 2006 and 2007. What's not publicly known is while headlines and press reports from the time described 6 veteran homicide detectives and a leadership team under Captain Jackson and Greg Kading, the detailed roster of every detective by name beyond Kading and Dupree was not widely published in mainstream reporting at the time. LAPD cold case teams often operate without full public disclosure of members' identities and investigative and safety reasons. So one thing we do know is that Tim Brennan from the Compton Police Department, Reggie Wright, who was working on the gang task force, him and what's the other guy name? Damn, I gotta go into the damn thing. What's the other one name? Tim Brennan's partner, Ladd. That was his name, right? Ladd and Tim. Ladd wasn't a part of the joint task force, but his partner Brennan was, right? Brennan, that's Compton PD. Then you had the LAPD officers. Then you had the FBI. Then you also had the ATF and the DEA. In fact, what's his name was working for the FBI and the ATF as an agent. The other guy on that was a security for Tupac, right? He was working for the ATF and the FBI. So there were multiple, and then even Tanisha Swan, they had the IRS at working with the task force to scare Tanisha Swan into flipping her. So yeah, bro, you all the way off with that. You know what I'm saying? So let's get back to the content. You know what I'm saying? So there you got Detective Greg Kading, you know what I'm saying, talking about saying Wack100 lies. So Wack100 was talking about all of this other stuff about how he orchestrated this whole thing and freed Money Mark Stevens.
West Coast tripping, time keeps
Bang that
on
like button.
slipping. West Coast tripping, time keeps on slipping. If you
On the last episode, we were informed by former LAPD Detective Greg Kading that Wack100 was lying, and he had absolutely nothing to do with helping Shaquille O'Neal, Mark Stevens, or any of the 7 Main Street Crips that allegedly kidnapped and robbed Robert Ross, aka Stutterbox. He informed us that everything Wack said, in regards to the role he played in that particular case, was absolute BS. That's just one of the many lies that Wax told concerning this case. The next lie came a few months back. Wack100, accompanied by former Compton police officer Reggie Wright Jr. and former LAPD detective Greg Kading, took to the social media platform Clubhouse in an attempt to clear Wack of the CS2 back allegations.
Hey, shout out to Fantasy Bambi. You 100% right. I was talking about Lackey. Kevy Lackey was the one who worked for the FBI and the ATF at the same time. Let's go.
When Wack introduced Detective Kading to his listeners, he introduced him as the lead investigator on the Stutterbox and Main Street case. Here's a small clip of that audio.
We got Reggie Wright, top right. Reggie Wright contacted Greg Kading. Greg Kading was the lead investigator on that case. Greg Kading was the lead investigator on that case.
As you just heard, Wack's plan was to deceive the listeners into believing that Greg Kading was the lead detective in the case. Because after all, if he is the lead investigator, then he would know exactly who CS2 back is and exactly who CS2 back is not. Let me show a small example of Wack's plan being played out.
Cash Jones, we don't usually use monikers under those circumstances, like Wack or Wack100.
Okay, so this is the lead detective in the investigation.
Did you guys hear 600 lie to the people also? Ask yourself, why is he going out of his way to lie like this? Either 600 is really this ditzy and game goofy, or he the police too. He has absolutely no idea how bad he makes the 6-0s look every day. So Greg, let me ask you, because the people want to know. When Wack brought you on Clubhouse, He introduced you as the lead investigator on the Stutterbox case. Is that true? Were you the lead investigator in that case?
No, that's not true. No, that's not true.
You guys just heard it. He just let us know that Wack lied again. Greg just said, no, that's not true. The thing is, Greg knew it wasn't true when Wack said it. So ask yourselves, why did he allow Wack to tell that story? Why was he willing to let the listener believe that he was the lead investigator in that case? The answer is quite simple. It's because Wack is a protected confidential source.
Here's how that went. The guys that worked down in 77th Division, primarily a couple of investigators, a guy named Christian and a guy named Mark, they wanted to do a Main Street Crip case. And when they were doing their Main Street Crip case, obviously we're already dealing with Box on an unrelated thing. But now Box is wrapped up in this whole dilemma with Bell Dog and, all the shit that he had going on with those guys. So, we were dealing with Box entirely on a separate level, or I'm sorry, for a separate thing. And they said, hey, we want to do this kind of larger federal type of case on Main Street. Can you help us? They're asking me, Greg, can you help us get this over to the federal level and to do an investigation on the federal level? Because, some of these guys don't have that experience to know how to go from a local investigation to a broader federal investigation. So they came to me, say, Greg, can you help us? I said, yeah, absolutely. You guys think you got a good case here? Let's do it. So I helped them initiate the case. I helped them get up on a wiretap and, kind of helped oversee it. They were really the leads on it. They had the intel. They knew who the players were. They knew what the history was. And I became aware of it. I started to realize, what Box had to do with Shaq and what Box had to do with Bell Dog and all of that. So that was it. I wasn't like the main. I was one of the guys.
So did y'all hear that? Listen.
To the federal thing, and they said, hey, we want dealing with Box entirely on a separate level, or I'm sorry, for a separate thing. And they said, hey, we want to do this kind of larger federal type of case on Main Street. Can you help us? They're asking me, Greg, can you help us get this over to the federal level and to do an investigation on the federal level? Because, some of these guys don't have that experience to know how to go from a local investigation to a broader federal investigation. So they came to me, say, Greg, can you help us? I said, yeah, absolutely.
So that's how it became a federal investigation. Let's go.
You guys think you got a good case here? Let's do it. So I helped them initiate the case. I helped them get up on a wiretap and, kind of helped oversee it. They were really the leads on it. They had the intel. They knew who the players were. They knew what the history was. And I became aware of it. I started to realize, what Box had to do with Shaq and what Box had to do with Bell Dog and all of that. So that was it. I wasn't like the main. I was one of the guys that was directly involved, but more of like an overseer as opposed to.
With YouTube Music Premium.
Bang that like button, man. We getting into it. I told y'all, man, this is what it was.
Kind of guy.
There you have it. Wack not only lied and deceived the people about helping to free Shaq and 7 Main Street Crips, he also lied about Greg Kading being the lead investigator on the case. We can't forget to throw 600 in that pot also. To protect the lies of his handler, he went above and beyond the call of duty to deceive his listeners as well. He even went as far as demanding Duse M's, Brick Baby, and Spider Loke to apologize to Wack for calling him back.
Man, Wack on paperwork. Nigga, we got the paperwork. Nigga, his name is back. Right? And I heard multiple people say this. You know what I'm saying? Spotted Loc said it on record. Brick Baby said it on record. And dude Duse M, he said it on record. They all said on record, talking about my boy's a rat. What was it, right? So I'm like, okay. Which I already knew he wasn't, because nobody never showed no paperwork. Y'all was painting some type of narrative that Wack was a rat. So what y'all do is, since y'all went out your way on a public platform to try to salt this man's name, y'all owe that man an apology. And that apology is going to clear your name in the streets. His name already cleared.
Before I end part 2 of this video, I want to read a small excerpt from Greg Kading's book, Murder Rap. I'll be reading from chapter 20 entitled Stutterbox, and it reads, "The fact was, the closer we looked at Cash Jones, the more it became apparent that he was supporting his comfortable lifestyle by simple hard work. When he wasn't on long-haul trips, he was running a number of small but completely legitimate sidelines, including distributing a men's magazine called Straight Stuntin'. It might have been sleazy, but it wasn't illegal. And as time went on, we gained increasing respect for the truck driver's entrepreneurial spirit. Now, I don't know about you guys, but never in my life have I ever heard a homicide detective speak so highly of a Pyru. Think about all the lies Wack has told. Think about all the problems he starts. Think about every disgusting thing you've seen him do or heard him say. Then ask yourself, how is it possible for a homicide detective to gain respect for a guy like that? The fact that Greg will come on Clubhouse for Wack to help him deceive the listener is more than enough to raise suspicion. If that isn't enough, though, this small part of Greg Kading's book should be a nail in the coffin. Have you ever heard Greg Kading speak that highly about Marion Knight's entrepreneurial spirit? Next time on part 3, Greg is going to give us a little more insight about CS2 back and who Mark Stevens and Del Dog were talking about on the wiretap transcripts. Please stay tuned for that. And if you enjoyed the content, please hit the like button and the subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the bell to receive notifications in the future.
So Greg Kading in the book made Wack out to be the hero, obviously, because Wack gave him Poochie, right? That was the plausible deniability he needed. But and he gave him Tanisha Swan. So together, that's how they got the Poochie theory, and that's all they needed, right? But he talked about his entrepreneurial spirit, but this is the same man who investigated Suge Knight, and Suge Knight's entrepreneurial spirit was never held in such regard. You know what I'm saying? Nasty work, bro. Let's go. Y'all ain't got to wait. We got it right here. Greg Kading, let's go.
Welcome back to Scandalous Los Angeles TV, where we expose the exposers. Today, we're going to let you guys hear what Greg Kading has to say about CS2 back. You're going to hear Greg attempt to shield his confidential source, but you're also going to hear him place Wack directly in the CS2 driver's seat. I'll interject a little throughout the interview, just to point out a few things. Other than that, I'm going to just
let's hit that like button.
Just let it play. Tell me in the comment section what you think. Now, Greg, this isn't about you. This is about Wack. I understand you have to do what you gotta do. But if he can bring you on Clubhouse to tell us all that stuff, I feel I should be able to ask some questions so the people can be informed. So again, this has nothing to do with you. This is about Wack.
Yeah, I get it. No, and again, I'm not trying to get in the middle of whatever bullshit is going on between Wack and whatever bullshit's going on with Starbucks. I don't give a fuck about that beef. Whatever it is, they'll figure it out. I'm just going to tell you investigatively, we would have listed Wack, Cash Jones, in our paperwork. He would have been like target 1, and his phone would have been target 1. And so when we were looking at him, we used particular language in our paperwork. So if we're writing the wiretap affidavit for his phone, we would say Cash Jones, also known as Wack. You were utilizing target number whatever, which would be his phone. I think it was some 661 phone number. And that's just the language. Nowhere within the paperwork related to the investigation of Cash Jones related to the investigation of Cash Jones, was he ever mentioned as a CS or an informant? Because he wasn't.
Okay. Now, Greg, we're talking about the case Stutterbox had against Shaquille O'Neal and the 7 Main Street Crips. When Wack brought you on Clubhouse, he asked you what would he have been referred to as in the paperwork.
And then in your paperwork, I don't know. How was I referred to? Was I referred to Wack, Cash Jones? They have this Back name. I don't know who the fuck Back is. I don't know. I know I've never had that moniker, but I don't know. Maybe it was some coded shit. Or how did you recall referring to me through all the paperwork when you guys were like listening in on my wiretaps? So like saying, okay, this is Wack, this is Cash Jones on the wiretap. What was I referred to in your because I've never looked over that paperwork, never had a need to. What was I referred to?
If Wack had nothing to do with Del Dog, Shaq, or any of the Main Street Crips, why would his name be being referred to in the paperwork at all?
So again, this is completely different investigation. We have to be real careful that we don't cross over these ideas, because when I said he would have been mentioned in the paperwork, if we're talking about Cash Jones's case, then we may have mentioned a CS, which would have been Stutterbox, saying these things about Cash that we investigated. There's that. Now, if Cash is asking me if his name was in the Main Street case, no, it wasn't. Now, if Cash is asking me if his name was in the Main Street case, no, it wasn't.
So we all know that Greg is not being truthful when he says that. We can clearly see Wack's government name, Cash Jones, all in this case. Hey, Christopher Loves boys, this shows you why you can't believe everything the police say. This also shows you that the police are protecting Wack, as they would any other confidential informant that's in good standing with them, unlike Stutterbox. But I want you to hear what Greg says right after he said Wack was not in the Main Street case at all.
There was no mention of Cash in the Main Street case. Other than when he's trying to get a hold of Mark Stevens and in order to tell him that Box has been compromised.
Yeah, and that's what the wiretap transcript said CS2 Back, or Wack, was calling Del Dog to do. Not Del Dog, but Mark Stevens.
See what you just did, though?
Yeah, I said Del Dog.
You said CS2 Wack. It doesn't say that, does it?
Yes, it does.
Doesn't it say CS2 Back?
Yes, it says CS2 Back.
This is
okay, well, do you know what you just said?
What did I say?
CS2 Wack.
I meant CS2 Back.
Because in your mind, and bear with me,
nasty work. Let me make sure y'all don't never let this get by y'all.
Doesn't it say CS2 Back?
That clip.
It doesn't say that, does it?
Yes, it does.
Doesn't it say CS2 Back?
Yes, it says CS2 Back.
Clip it.
Yes, it does.
Doesn't it say CS2 Back?
Yes, it.
So, the overseer of the Main Street Mafia Crip, not the lead investigator, but the overseer of the Main Street Mafia Crip investigation, the Stutterbox investigation, says, doesn't the wiretap on that phone call where Wack is trying to tell Del Dog that the phones is compromised and that Stutterbox went sour, he said, doesn't it say CS2 Back? Well, if he says that it says CS2 Back, Mark Stevens says it says CS2 Back, and Stutterbox says that it says CS2 Back. How was Wack100 running around the internet lying to people, telling them that Lamonte added some back shit? If y'all can't see that, then you need to go. We'll get to that later, but y'all just remember that part. You know what I'm saying? This is nasty work. He said he going to his hood day tomorrow.
Says CS2 Back.
Okay, well, do you know what you just said?
What did I say?
CS2 Wack.
I meant CS2 Back.
Because in your mind, and bear with me, no offense here, but I think you've already come to the conclusion that Back is Wack. And that's why that's such an easy mistake to make.
Well, the reason I think Wack is CS2 back is because that's who Mark Stevens said he was talking to.
Nobody's disputing that. Nobody's disputing that Mark Stevens is saying that Wack is who he was talking to.
But he's saying that that's back. He is saying that back is Wack.
How does Mark Stevens put that together? Show me how Mark Stevens...
See, Greg is discombobulated at how we figured out that Wack was back. That's how he got caught up. He admits that CS2 back is the person on there, right? But he doesn't, he's not arguing. And he said, look, I'm not arguing what Mark said. Mark is, and he's going to admit, we know that that's Wack. But how is he adding this back? Well, because the CS2 back in the paperwork is the person he knows that called him, and that was Wack, aka the Wack boy, which it says on the wiretap. So he was able to figure that out, and Greg Kading realized at that point, damn, I fucked up. But pay attention.
Has anything to substantiate that back is Wack.
In the paperwork they put him as back. BACK. And
Right.
I kept asking the lawyer, like, who the fuck is, I ain't talked to no back. And they said, nah, that's Wack. But they put him as back because he a blood. So it's back. I said, oh, okay.
And was this back also referred as confidential source number 2?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so no offense to Mark, he doesn't know any better. But when we're writing official police reports, we don't play the game. We don't change language or change spelling because we are, part of the gang culture. We're not going to put Wack. We're going to put back because he's a blood, not a crip, and we don't. That's not how we operate. We don't. That's gang shit. We don't write as gangsters. We write as police officers and try to be as specific as possible.
Greg is saying they try to be as specific as possible, and that they don't do things like that. But we're all looking at a wiretap transcript where they did exactly that. They put a person named Back in the paperwork, and no one knows who Back is.
We don't change things in order to... So if Mark Stevens is thinking that, oh man, the cops just put this in there this way because he's a blood and not a crip, it's not how it works.
I hear you, Greg.
It doesn't matter how Mark Stevens figured it out. The point is that he figured it out, and you're not denying that he figured it out. Let's go.
But even without them doing that, the conversation with Mark Stevens and Del Dog did actually take place. And Mark Stevens is saying the person who called him looking for Del Dog's phone number was Wack. Mark said he doesn't know anyone named Back. So why would they put some fake person that Mark has never ever talked to in the transcripts?
No, I get that. See, we are totally in agreement. The conversation is Wack, obviously. The conversation is Wack, obviously. But this explanation of Wack being back, there's nothing to substantiate that other than...
Now I'm going to pause right here because I want to make sure you guys didn't miss what just happened. I told Greg that Mark Stevens said he doesn't know anyone named Back. So I asked Greg why would they put somebody in the paperwork that Mark Stevens doesn't know and has never ever spoken to in his life. I'm going to play it again so you can hear how he evades my question. I hear you, Greg, but even without them doing that, the conversation with Mark Stevens and Del Dog did actually take place, and Mark Stevens is saying the person who called him looking for Del Dog's phone number was Wack. Mark said he doesn't know anyone named Back. So why would they put some fake person that Mark has never ever talked to in the transcripts?
No, I get that. See, we are totally in agreement. The conversation is Wack, obviously. The conversation is Wack, obviously.
So if Mark Stevens is saying that the conversation is Wack, then why are you worried about how he figured it out unless you realize that you fucked up, that you didn't cover up your CS the way you were obligated to do it? Let's go.
But this explanation of Wack being back, that doesn't, there's nothing to substantiate that other than a misunderstanding of how the police write reports or a misunderstanding of a lawyer. You know, because I'm telling you, and I don't know how much more I can emphasize this, Cash Jones was not an informant on the Main Street case.
I'm with you on that. But you're agreeing that in the transcripts we have, it's Wack that Mark and Dell are talking about in the conversation they're having, right?
Yes. And I think Wack admits that. And I think Wack admits that. But that this whole thing with Back, you know, it would have just been CS2, typically just left alone, CS2, because the investigators all know who CS2 is.
But in a wiretap, aren't they supposed
The investigators all know who CS2 is. Yeah, well, who is CS2? You know what I'm saying?
to type exactly what they hear the person say?
But that's not what you're reading. You're not reading. Pardon me. So the conversation is there.
He discombobulated. Scanless is just incisive, nigga. He does incisions. He just carves and cuts. Let's go.
You can see the conversation, right?
Right. And they're using his name as they're talking. The boy back wants your phone number. The person who transcribed the wiretap is typing that Mark is saying back. But Mark is saying that he was not saying back. He was saying Wack. And you already agreed that these guys are talking about Wack right here, but it's just using the name back until the last paragraph. In the last paragraph, Mark Stevens actually says the Wack boy.
Okay, so he's talking about Wack. There is no back. There is no back. That's all I can say.
So there you have it. Greg Kading says Del Dog and Mark Stevens are talking about Wack in the wiretap transcripts, and at the same time he is saying Wack isn't back. He said there is no back. When I asked him why would they put the name of some fake person in the paperwork, who Mark Stevens didn't know, he didn't answer me. Hey, somebody hit Compton Rick Rock up and tell him that he should remix that Ain't No Bumpton joint. Tell him to name the remix Ain't No Back. Because Greg Kading said there's no back. If Greg is saying there is no back, but the conversation being had in the wiretap is about Wack, then this shouldn't read CS2 back. It should actually say CS2 Wack. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if
nasty work. Most scandalous. Los Angeles TV. Let's see what the good people talk about before I get to the next video and break down what we got, man. When I break this, what you call it down, CS2 back, you're done. He going to his hood day tomorrow. JP Wack is working for Protective Witness Program. I thought that too until Wack. Well, they said Utah is a place that they send a lot of people in witness protection. WITSEC. I thought that too until Wack tried to line up Mob at 7 and Wack gave Loose Cannon Reggie's lover's name, Cedric at Death Row. Yeah, he did give him Cedric name. Jane P, pay attention. I should call and troll this nigga Reggie about Cedric blowing his spokes out. You know what I'm saying? Derek Greg, like, damn, this AI is fast. 600 is one of the dumbest individuals I've ever come across. He's really stupid. Yeah, he's a big dummy. These people think we're slow. They definitely think we slow. It's a no-brainer. Jane P, salute. Greg scared to hang up too. Shit, that nigga wasn't scared. He blocked my ass. Nigga, Scanless is really a nice guy. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't want to be the bad guy. I don't give a fuck. I embrace that shit. And so I speak my mind, nigga. Straight lace, no cut. Sorry, chat. Wack has two handlers, Greg and Reggie. Nah, Darren Dupree. But I don't think Reggie knew of this. On Mad Day, it became obvious Wack backdoors Reggie. I ain't talked to no back. No, that's Wack. Crazy shit is how all them 100 minions don't see the truth. because they don't want to see the truth. If you want to believe a lie bad enough, bro, they can tell you anything. Your baby mama that cheated and had 12 kids on you, if you want to believe that she ain't going to cheat on you again, you'll take her back and she going to have that 13. What is Wack team smoking? They'll ignore all the evidence on CS2 is crazy work. And you're a liar, Greg. The same thing with Young and Hefe. And Hefe, that's why he was 100 EBT and exposure. So y'all don't change people's name and move them to other states like Utah and set them up with a wife. 600 chaps my ass too. It's so obvious he's a cop, but why is he so scared of Wack? It is because he put those guns on Brick, baby. Yeah, that's a fact. Yeah, we know that's all cap. Yeah, he lined Brick up, man. You know what I'm saying? I think it wasn't even 2 days after he linked up with Brick. Brick caught that pistol case. And now he in the feds on the draws down indictment. The Wack boy is him. Alphabet him. Slap 100, get at Bubba Birdman, a man calling himself Birdman. I'm weak as fuck. Snitch Hunter got a sealed case. Yeah, he got Fantasy Bambi. He's still mad about the fake paperwork. On Mad Day, he's gonna expose him. 600 and Wack work in different cases, but they teamed up like bad boys for Big U. Bro, I swear to God, they wouldn't make the thumbnail. I try to make them Will Smith and Martin Lawrence on this thumbnail, and ChatGPT wouldn't make it, man. I was mad as a motherfucker. They said it was against their policy. Pardon me. So we finna get, how could Greg be Wack handler when he didn't know what a 137 was? Nah, Wack is Darren Dupree was Wack handler. You know what I'm saying? Wack working for the feds, not local. Yeah, he definitely ain't local. You know what I'm saying? Remember, he got caught with them guns, OT. So let's get to like which one of these was it? He was begging for his life at the Novo. We'll get to that one next. All right, so let's go. Boom. So we got 2 more videos, and then I'm gonna read and break down how Wack100 lying, saying that the police Wack100, first he lying about CS2 and being an informant, and I'm going to explain why after y'all watch these next 2 videos. Go.
Welcome back to Scandalous Los Angeles TV, where we expose the exposers. The other day, y'all saw what Young Ant did. He went on No Jumper and actually asked Dragonfly Jones about being CS2 back, something we've never seen Vlad or Adam 22 do. And after watching that, it really got me thinking. It's crazy that Porky has been sitting over there on No Jumper all this time, and yet Adam still hasn't asked him a single question about CS2 back.
Hit that like button
Not
if you're
one.
just coming in.
So it made me stop and think. In all these episodes, all these interviews, all these appearances, there are literally millions of questions Adam never asked him. So I sat down and made a list. A list of questions Adam never asked in over 100 shows together. In this episode, we're going to take a little trip down memory lane. We're going to revisit the lies. And I've got 20 questions right here for anybody out there who really wants to go viral. Here's your blueprint. 20 questions for CS2 back. Guaranteed to get the internet talking. All right, first question for Porky. Hey, Porky. What would you call a black man who goes on a white-owned podcast and tries to implicate another black man in a murder they didn't commit?
We only talked about you a little bit.
Right? Now, unless he want to talk about how he lined his son up to get killed for the insurance money.
See, what is
we
that?
Ain't talking. We can talk about it. We ain't talking about it. How he got some responsibility in getting, old boy killed that they love up there in the Bay. They just roll blunts with their kids and pop perks with their kids because they think it's cool.
Why do you think he gave his son lean?
It ain't about thinking, it's about what we know.
How do you know?
Did he collect the life insurance?
I don't know. Do you know?
Well, that's a fact.
Even if that was true, don't you think
That's a fact.
it's kind of ugly to be bringing that to the table.
Yeah, that ain't he got the other man smoked. After the murder, when Quando went back to Georgia, what did he immediately do?
Dropped his flag?
There it goes. What was he claiming? Rolls.
I want y'all, I'm finna start a poll. I want y'all to tell me, is this right here, Wack100 on Vlad, not open source intel and trying to point to the finger of Big U lining up this nigga who they said Lil Durk had $1 million on his head? Let's go.
60 script. Where Brick Baby from?
Roll 60 script.
What you think the police told Quando?
That the Roll 60s set him up?
Who you think he checked in with?
Roll 60s?
With who?
Okay, I see where you're going with this. I'm not going to say.
Wack said, who do you think the police told Rondo lined him up? That nigga said the Rolling 60 Cred. Wack100. How do you know that the feds knew about or warned this nigga about who was the ones that lined him up? How do you know that? Are you saying that when there was threats on your head that they came and talked to you? How do you know that they warned anybody about a threat on their head, getting knocked out or their jaw broke? How did you know that? But yet you want us to believe that they heard on multiple wiretaps with Marley Marl, multiple wiretaps with Dale Morrison, that Big U wanted to break your jaw, that he just gotta at least break your jaw. Did the feds come talk to you about that? When he caught you in the parking lot of the Novo and you pulled out Blick in your badge, did the feds come and talk to you about that? Why would they talk to Quando Rondo about these threats? But while Big U's under investigation, they don't come talk to you. Make it make sense. Let's go. But y'all tell me, was this snitching right here?
Listen. Yeah, listen.
I'm not going to say it.
No, listen.
What's the word for that, Porky? Do you have any examples of a black man doing something like that? Sitting down on a white-owned platform with millions of subscribers and attempting to tie another black man's name to a murder he had nothing to do with. What do you call a black man who moves like that, Porky? I'm just curious, in your own words, because it sounds real familiar. Second question, Porky. Why did you go on Vlad TV and lie about doing time in Soledad?
So by the time I left there, I hit Soledad. Now Youth Authority, I already ran through that. So at 16, I'm in Soledad.
Why make that up? If there's no Soledad time in your record, why fabricate that story? And while we're at it, why did you lie about the C. Blank Wack story? You know the one. Why'd you make that up too?
And I went to reception, and they put me in cell with a G homie named Baby Wayne from Village Town Power Room. And I think at that point is when my penitentiary training started. You know, because he had been to prison 2-3 times. The good thing about Baby Wayne was a knockout artist. And when you were a young Power Room in the cell with a G homie, you're gonna fight at least 3-4 times a week just because. So, you know, he kind of got
Money Grip, what up?
Push-up game, my physical game, and he made me squabbling him every day, almost. So by the time I left there, I hit Soledad. And Soledad was really, that was the birth. That was the birth of CK Wack.
Was that just another case of you trying to build up your fake rep? Next question. If you're not CS2 back, then why have you spent the last 2 years telling so many lies about him? Why did you lie and say, The paperwork said he was a low-level drug dealer.
Now listen, if you read the paragraph, you read the word, the paragraph, you read the word, the paragraph, you read the word. The word said, whoever this dude is, he's a low-level drug dealer, and he's in fear that his family members in the main streets will be hurt.
Where did you get that from? Because it's not in the paperwork. Also, why did you lie and say the paperwork said that CS2 back was in fear for him and his family's life in the main streets?
They say
when the paperwork doesn't say that either. It also doesn't say that CS2 back was from Main Street. Why have you gone out of your way to make people believe that lie? And more importantly, why did you lie and say the Duse added the name back to the paperwork?
He's winning credit, some fake work, and add some back shit. We don't see that, use a bozo. I'm done talking about that shit. He's winning credit, some fake work, and add some back shit. We don't see that, use a bozo. I'm done talking about that shit.
You told us to go ask Mark Stevens and Stutterbox if you were CS2 back. Why did Mark Stevens tell us that you were CS2?
And do you, in that paperwork, do you see your conversation with Cash Jones in that?
Hey, Julie.
That was the initiating. That was
boy
the
was blowing wax
when they started recording.
Right. And how did they refer to Cash Jones?
In the paperwork, they put him as back. B-A-C-K.
Why did Stutterbox tell us that you were CS2 back?
I call Wack. My Rolls Royce gets shot up. My girl almost get killed. I lay on top of her. We make it up out of there. Wack see the bullet holes in my car the next day. He reaching out, trying to contact the nigga who's supposed to be the boogeyman. I know where the nigga live at, behind my back. It's in the paperwork. All on wiretap. It's in the paperwork. All on wiretap. It's in the paperwork. All on wiretap.
Next set of questions, Porky. What kind of relationship do you really have with Greg Kading that makes you feel so comfortable lying on his name all the time? Why did you lie and say Greg Kading owed you a favor?
Officer Greg Kading and Darren Dupree or some
Darren
shit.
Dupree.
When we coming outside on the stairway, me and my attorney, they stop us. They say, look, man, we can't afford this harassment lawsuit you filed. You know, I'm beyond the gated community. I'm claiming I'm embarrassed. I got to move my family. My wife is traumatized. She kicked my dough in. I'm putting extras on it, right? Right. They said, listen, man. They advised my attorney. My attorney said, look, dude said, drop the case, and they owe you one. If you don't drop it, right, then you know what come with that. My attorney's talking to me. He know my personal business and say, you know how you are every day, so you don't really need that in your mix. So I said, well, listen, I don't need no motherfuckers hemming me up every day. We figured out as we figured out. I leave it like that.
Because when Greg Kading was asked about it, he said you were lying.
Okay, all of that is absolute bullshit, except for the fact we met him at his lawyer's office. We sat down. We said, "Here's the deal, man. You know, we've had this case against you. We came up empty-handed. You know, sorry that you got caught in the middle of this. Somebody put your name out there. We didn't know any better, so we followed. You know, we gave fucking Stutterbox the benefit of the doubt. Here we are. You know, was there an apology? I don't know. It's my style to kind of apologize. Sorry you had to fucking go through this. But nonetheless, it is what it is. The idea of suing us, fucking bullshit. Us having an agreement like we owe you one, bullshit.
And while we're here, why did Greg Kading say you were lying when you claimed you freed Shaquille O'Neal and the 7 Main Street Crips?
Right. I called my man Money Mark. Right. Money Mark is Shaquille's right-hand man, his business partner. I said, yo, Mark, check it out. Call my attorney. Tell my attorney, I said, put you online with that federal officer. Have your attorney call that federal officer to the stand. Well, first tell him to call Box to the stand. You want him to do one thing and one thing only. Ask Box If he's a federal informant, document it. Everybody from LA is in the
Yeah,
courtroom.
ain't
He's
whack.
gonna lie. Trust me, I know he was gonna lie. When that happens, I'm giving you a jewel because Shaq looked out for me, right? I don't need this favor, so I'm passing it to you. Have your attorney call this Greg Kading in, have him take the stand, and then let him tell the judge, present the documents he had, the fingerprints,
Smash that
all
like
the paperwork,
button.
the payments they've been paying this dude every month to show that this dude is a federal informant. At that point in time, Fox has perjured himself on the stand. Whatever allegations against Shaq and anybody else tied to the case, they got to kick it out.
The idea of him having anything to do with the trial of when Stutterbox went to testify, and the thing fell apart. Cash had absolutely nothing to do with any of that. So he's just taking all of these pieces of information and putting them together like he was the puppet master. It's all absolute bullshit.
Why did you lie and tell everybody that Greg Kading was the lead detective in the investigation?
We got Reggie Wright, top right. Reggie Wright contacted Greg Kading. Greg Kading was the lead investigator on that case. Greg Kading was the lead investigator on that case.
You said it over and over, like it was a fact. But the paperwork doesn't say that. And Greg Kading himself said it wasn't true.
Vistaprint prints everything to get your brand in front of your fans, like t-shirts, water bottles, and totes, so everyone can.
So Greg, let me ask you, because the people want to know. When Wack brought you on Clubhouse, he introduced you as the lead investigator on the Stutterbox case. Is that true? Were you the lead investigator in that case?
No, that's not true. No, that's not true.
Why did you let Lieutenant Officer Love's boys get on his platform and lie on Greg Kading too? Why let him tell people Greg Kading was the lead investigator in the case?
Jones, we don't usually use monikers under those circumstances, like Wack or Wack100.
Okay, so this is the lead detective in the investigation.
When the paperwork clearly says otherwise. The paperwork says Mark Stevens was talking to Del Dog. And he told Del Dog that a guy named Back wanted his number. And when you look at that paperwork, it clearly identifies Back as being confidential source number 2, or CS2 for short. So if the paperwork identifies Back as CS2, and that's who Mark Stevens and Del Dog are talking about, why did Greg Kading say that the conversation they were having in the wiretap was about you, Porky, if you're not CS2 Back? But you're agreeing that in the transcripts we have, it's Wack that Mark and Del are talking about in the conversation they're having, right?
Yes. And I think Wack admits that. And I think Wack admits that. But this whole thing with Back, it would have just been CS2, typically just left alone, CS2, because the investigators all know who CS2 is.
But in a wiretap, aren't they supposed to type exactly what they hear the person say?
But that's not what you're reading. You're not reading. Pardon me, I'm getting stuff. So the conversation is there. You can see the conversation, right?
Right. And they're using his name as they're talking. The boy Back wants your phone number. The person who transcribed the wiretap is typing that Mark is saying Back. But Mark is saying that he was not saying Back. He was saying Wack. And you already agreed that these guys are talking about Wack right here, but it's just using the name Back until the last paragraph. In the last paragraph, Mark Stevens actually says the Wack boy.
Okay, so he's talking about Wack.
Another round of questions for you, Porky. Why did you spend so much time lying on Spider? Why did you make up that story about you and him going way back to the juvenile side of the county?
That's what we gonna do. How about we say Spider gave Black Wall Street a pass today. So Spider looks at me because we go back to the juvenile side of the county. Spider.
This nigga's a motherfucker. Y'all just heard him on the internet saying I never been to jail. I didn't even know this much of a lie was.
I didn't know he said that. Oh, no.
Why did you insert him into that story about 40 Glock pressing game and spitting all over his car? Why bring Spider's name into something he had nothing to do with? Why did you lie about J-Rock? First you said he swung on you, missed, and ran.
So you guys had a relationship. This is who J-Rock was to me. J-Rock was my son's personal security. Understand something. Okay. That's just like if this brother sees me, right? And he's walking up. He's not looking at me as a threat. Oh, that's Wack. Right? So my first time taking J-Rock to the 60s, Big U sons didn't want to do something to him. But we was in the alley off 42nd. I had to stop it. Right? We was on our way to Vegas to do a show or whatever, right? So Nipsey used to call me about J-Rock. Hey, yo, Wack, man, did you have these experiences with J-Rock? Because he knew he worked when we was in Miami. J-Rock was with us the whole 30 days, right? I'm like, you know, he don't mean nothing by it. Sometimes he'll slack up, whatever. It's cool, right? So as I'm walking up, and we running a little late. We run a little late that day, I believe, right? We run a little late, and we trying to get to the trailer because we got to get to the other side of Rolling Loud. So when I go to turn the corner, I believe Blueface goofing off doing something else. So the homies that's usually behind me on the side of me, they not there and I don't know it, right? So I'm going to turn the corner. I feel something swing at me.
The homies that used to usually beside me and behind me, they ain't there, and Blueface goofing off. I thought that you had niggas at 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 7 o'clock. Wait, you know what I'm saying? It's the same nigga. I guess after that, that nigga went into a military brigade, nigga. Every time we travel, it's like a military brigade, nigga.
I feel it. I take another step and thought about it, and I turned. And when I turned, I said, nigga, did you just try to follow me? And he took off running.
But then you sat in front of Jason Lee and bragged about getting punched in the mouth by him.
That's really all that was.
But did he hit you and run?
No, he hit me and ran. He got a good one in.
Really?
And I'm kind of like glad he did it, because I always ask myself, because, you know, I get off first.
This is what I'm saying. Like
I get off. Yeah, I'm fine. So yeah. So but dude, like 300 pounds. So I always question, like, could you handle one of them? You know what I'm saying? So it was kind of like a bad night, but a good night. But I'm like, shit, I ate that.
But I've seen
ate that. But I've seen ate that. But I've seen.
How many of 40 Glock's Instagram pages did you personally have removed because of those allegations involving the 16-year-old girl he was pressing on you about? And while we're here, why did you lie and say that Marion Knight would be out of jail in 90 days? And you were gonna help get him out.
Scared of Suge. I just talked to Suge. Suge just gave me his life rights to do his movie. Stay tuned. Yeah, Wack got the life rights. TMZ, whoever y'all looking, Wack got the life rights to do Suge Knight's movie as of 48 hours ago. We just talked for the first time. Me and the homie got settled our differences. You know what I'm saying? We was mad at each other. I got the life rights. Suge Knight, let me tell it, he'll be home in the next 90 days. I'm gonna prepare his bail, all that. Life rights is coming. The rise and fall of death row. What I'm scared of my homeboy for. What you talking about?
Why did you say that publicly when you knew it wasn't true? Here's another question for you, Porky. If you already know that Diamond Blue is in prison serving a life sentence, why would you go on Chuck's podcast and shout to the whole world that he murdered another woman when you knew that wasn't true?
Lying under a fake name.
How did you originally get into it?
He lied that girl up and had her killed. He got that girl.
Hold on, Wack. I want to hear this, though. Hey,
ask that nigga why he got that lady killed in his penitentiary picture lined up.
This nigga is an informant. He always want to talk about a nigga getting killed and all this shit. This nigga's an informant.
Why are you so in love with placing false murder raps on people? And here's the last question for this video, because trust me, we're doing another one after this. You told everybody you were Loose Cannon's handler.
I'm Loose handler.
You made sure to let the world know that. We all see where Loose is at today. But since you were so comfortable telling us who you're in charge of, are you just as comfortable telling us who's in charge of you? You sat online with Big Chuck and told him straight up that you had a handler.
Chuck, we all have a handler, bro.
Stop it, Wack.
You do? I got a handler. I'm Luce's handler.
Hey, my handler tried to throw me.
I got a handler. My handler, yo, Chuck.
I didn't see that clip with him.
We all got handlers, Chuck. Chuck, we all have a handler, bro.
Stop it, Wack.
You do? I got a handler. I'm Luce's handler.
Hey, my handler tried to throw me.
I got a handler. My handler, yo, Chuck.
I didn't know that was the handler.
6 months ago, my handler, you ain't noticed I done bagged up off the app about 50%?
Yeah.
Because my handler said, Wack, contract's about to close, time to start shutting that down. My handler told me that.
Who your handler, R&B,
See, a handler ain't gotta be.
Hey, that's the real Bimmy or that's somebody trolling?
What?
That's Bimmy. I already sent him an invite.
Oh, Bimmy, yeah. Bimmy, I told Bimmy to pull up.
Listen, a handler don't gotta be like, you know.
Yo, Bimmy, you gotta accept the invite.
You know, like Luz. Man, if I wasn't in this crazy ear, this would have been on some other.
Man, I do be on the other. You just be stopping me.
Yeah, the handler's a motherfucker that you will listen to because you respect them and you know they got your best interest at heart. Lior has Kevin's best interest at heart, right? I got Lou's best interest at heart. My business partners got my best interest.
So the last question is, who's your handler, Porky?
Working across teams is tough.
My bad. I was muted up. You know what I'm saying? But hey man, salute to everybody that's in here. You know what I'm saying? Stay tuned. We got one more video, and then I'm gonna break down what I wanted y'all to hear. I don't think y'all want to miss that. Thanks for hanging around for this. Let's get into this. Wack100 admits he was begging Big U for his life at the no vote. This is of the utmost relevancy to the Associate United States Attorney saying publicly that Wack100 and Six Hunnet has never talked to their team in the investigation of Big U. I just never seen the Assistant United States Attorney even mention the name of somebody that they don't know, or let alone feel obligated to defend someone they don't know. Let's go.
Lieutenant Henley told Victor One that Henley had seen Wack100 with his wife and daughter and said, there's 50 to 20s with us. Hoodies tied down. I got my hoodie on, all black, tied down. She like, boom, she jumped in the car, paid for blah, blah, then took off. Boom, just screaming, my wife, Charles, I see you, Eugene. I see you, Eugene Henley, I see you. He's screaming all that. He got his blower. He got his blower out, but he's fucked up because nobody's around him. We like, bitch ass. I'm like, yeah. He like, yo, you want to die here, man? Don't do this. My wife, my kids. Draws. Don't do this. He's screaming.
Welcome back to Scandalous Los Angeles TV, where we expose the exposers.
Right, Black.
In this episode, we're circling back to revisit some of CS2 Badges' lies. I know some of you thought we'd let this one slide, but no, we're not letting anything slide. We're here to nitpick every little contradiction Porky makes, just to show how deep the deception really goes. You heard what DJ Academic said at the beginning. He was reading straight from the paperwork, connected to Big U's wiretap. Big U was detailing what really went down that night at the Novo, when they ran into Porky in the parking lot. And you heard it clear as day. Wack crying, pleading, talking about his wife and kids being inside the building. But after that, Porky jumped on No Jumper, sat across from Traplaw Ross, and tried to spin a whole different story. He even attempted to bully Ross for something Ross said about what was in the paperwork. Of course, Porky Chops had to change up the narrative. That's what people do when the paperwork doesn't match the persona. So here's what we're going to do today. First, we'll let you hear Porky's version of events, his so-called military operation, his heroic fantasy. Then we're going to let you hear him tell on himself, straight from his own mouth on Clubhouse, where his story sounds nothing like what he told Traplaw Ross. Once again, the lies unravel themselves. Let's get into it.
You know I'm allowing you to question me right now, right?
Appreciate it.
Because you did some punk shit the other day. See, the only difference is you usually do what you did the other day sitting over there in London somewhere, right? And you're not here, right? It's a lot of places you can't go. You send Adam something as if it was a clip of something I did I wasn't supposed to do.
No, he sent me a screenshot of a page from the indictment.
Okay, that's cool.
Where Big U was recorded on a wiretap, basically
receiver.
saying that he punked you out with a whole bunch of people, and it had a quote that he attributed to you, but it wasn't an actual video or recording. This was Big U's version of events.
Hold on. You're the receiver. So since you read everything, right? Tread lightly with this. Tread lightly with this. Tread lightly with this. Because I've been telling myself for the last couple minutes not to really do nothing to you, not to really do nothing to you, not to really do nothing to you.
Stop the cap.
Because I know what you was trying to do. Okay. So since you so thorough, did you read what Big U said he did to me? No, either you gonna play smart or dumb. Did you read it?
Yes. Can I say one thing?
What did you
can I
find
say one thing in my
there
defense first?
That's the bullshit and the real shit.
But can I say one thing in my defense
I
first?
just want to know what you read.
I feel like stuff that Adam said that he put source on top of it. I just sent him an image of the indictment and said, "Have you seen this?" You went in the room and you said a bunch of stuff.
No, you said in that page.
Added on.
You said in that page. So I'm asking you, you're just gonna let me know where you at with me.
Mm-hmm. And don't forget, Porky's doing all of this to trap Law Ross, while fully knowing he's about to sit there and feed him a complete lie. Keep that in mind as we listen.
Did you read that and did you use your brain to understand why and why not? So I'm a dude that yes. Violated Big U like no other human being, right? Violated him.
For sure.
2-3 years, right?
That's such a claim to fame now that Big U is like the ultimate bad guy of LA.
No.
Him being able to say that he violated is like him saying he went up against Al Capone.
No.
To tell the tale.
No, you got to remember, I don't see Big U the way y'all see Big U.
On Gilly and Wallow's show, Porky openly said he picked Big U as the biggest Crip of all time. He said he chose Big U over Crip founders Raymond Washington and Tookie Williams. He sat there listing off all of Big U's accolades, giving him all his flowers. But then Porky gets on No Jumper and suddenly says, "I don't see Big U the way everybody else does." See how that works? This is just Porky trying to position himself like he's above everybody else, like he's on some level of insight or authority that the rest of us don't have.
I know.
Big U sat on my couch with his head down, scared straight in situations where he needed our help at, where he needed our help at.
And did y'all catch that? Porky just said, where he needed our help. Not my help. Our help. Why is that? Because once again, Porky is inserting himself into something that had nothing to do with him. He's trying to make it sound like Big U was running to him and his imaginary team for help. But let's ask Porky the real question. Who exactly is our? Why won't you just say he needed your help? Who is this so-called group you're speaking for? Because it sounds like you're trying to create this illusion. Like there's some big collective of people Big U was leaning on, when really, it's just you talking to yourself, trying to look more important than you are. That's the game. Inflate the story. Inflate yourself. But we see right through it.
I don't see him that way. A motherfucker who I had to pay rent and help take care of his family.
Let's talk about another one of Porky's lies. Big U owned multiple homes. So how in the world could CS2 Badges be out here, claiming he paid Big U's rent? If you helped him with anything at all, it would have been to help with a mortgage payment, not rent. That's just common sense. But here's what's even funnier. Notice how Porky and Lucy both lean on this same tired talking point. Oh, we gave him some money. We helped pay his rent. Like that's some badge of honor. If someone is really your friend, and they fall on hard times, isn't helping them out what you're supposed to do? If a man hits a rough patch, and you slide him some money, that's not a flex. That's just being a decent human being. But these dudes turn it into a talking point, a power play. I'm not scared of him. I don't see him the way y'all see him because I helped him one time with some money. Are you kidding me? And don't forget, all of this is built on a lie anyway. Everything Porky's saying is just to distract you from the real truth. He was in that parking lot that night, screaming for his life. That's the reality he's trying to rewrite.
Who then sat on my couch and said, help me? I don't see that dude as that, right? But if you read that, right, it says, we was 15, 20 deep, right? And we caught him. And he was by himself, right? You do know I jumped out on them. You do know I wasn't walking. I'm in a car with 800 horsepower in it, right? I'm very capable of whatever, right? You do know my homeboys was adjacent to them, but they didn't even, that they had no idea they was there, right?
The Henny Man.
Right?
That's new information.
You do understand that, right?
Yo, I'm here.
He's
Big
screaming.
No, this is my fault.
Big Ack, how you living? Oh my God.
Now
he's
we
in here
got
with a
Mount Pod
360
boy right here, bro.
Hello,
We said
hello,
you in the
Shay.
middle.
How you doing? First time meeting. Come on. IRL.
Hold on. We got to get to this right here.
He's trying to pack out Trapper right now.
Yeah,
we need a judge.
Hold on.
We need someone to litigate this situation.
No, hold on. Watch this.
I'm glad I'm here at ground zero, man. This roll the indictments.
Watch this. So let me give it to you, right?
Smell like police donuts up in here, man. I brought my badge too. You know, I said this the Fan Avengers. They got me. They got Adam. They got Vlad.
Mount Podmore.
Shout out to the new recruit, Remo.
He the undercover.
So listen. Hold on. Let's get back to it.
They said the undercover had a stutter.
Oh, the undercover had a stutter?
Actually, no. Won't you read it?
Look, I just feel like I will read it. I'll read it. I'll read it. Can I say something before I read it? Because it's very important.
I want you to read it.
All right, I'll read it.
I want to see how
I'll
smart
read
you
it,
are.
and then I'll give what I thought of it, and then I'm going to repeat what Adam said about it.
I want a dramatic reading.
You spun it crazy.
I want you to read it dramatically.
Hey, third
Bang that like button. Bang that.
Before y'all get to that,
I'm gonna expose something
Don't bring
that
up
I
the Coima
never
out.
exposed.
Yo, Wack.
Oh wow, okay.
I'm so glad you're my friend because all your officers go to jail, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. All your officers, everything that don't like you, they going down in the ball of flame, man.
I'm a legal
Yo,
guy.
Wack's my friend. I'm telling you.
Go ahead, read it. Read it.
Henley
I'm on him for doing his weird shit. Go ahead.
Henley recounted to victim one, and this is on a wiretap, right? So bear in mind, this is very important. This is Big U bragging about doing this on a wiretap to somebody else.
On the phone.
Not knowing that he's being listened to, right?
Read it.
Henley recounted to victim one an incident in which Henley and Rolling 60s gang members chased down Wack100, Wack100, Wack100.
At this point, it's almost normal. We should all be used to it by now. Seeing CS2 Badge's name pop up in somebody else's paperwork shouldn't even surprise anybody anymore. Once again, this man's name is showing up in paperwork, and somehow it never matters. But here's where it gets ridiculous. CS2 Back wants us to believe that the feds have wiretaps of Big U saying all this happened to him. And yet, magically, they never went to CS2 Back to ask him about it.
Now that's where we gonna end it. And I'm going to break this down, right? So let's go ahead and get to this, right? So I'm going at it back and forth. Let me get down here to where the good people at, right? So I'm going back and forth with Chat GPT, right? And I said, look, I think you misunderstand my point. Wack100 arranged and booked Loose Cannon intentionally, knowing what topics he wanted to bring up during the interview at No Jumper. He was fully aware of the alleged robbery of the dispensary owned by Dale Morrison, who also claims that Big U extorted Wack100, admitted that Dale Morrison had already confided in him that he was working with the federal government against Big U at that point, explaining exactly what he accused Big U of to the feds. Wack100 is Big U's arch nemesis. In fact, Wack100 thereafter befriended Loose Cannon and recorded a phone call between Loose Cannon and Dale Morrison, Monster, talking about the robbery and extortion case. I'm sure that will be evidence that comes out during Big U's trial. Wack100 is also brothers with the Grammy Award-winning producer Marley Marl, who is a witness in the case. Coincidence? I don't believe in coincidence. Wack100 has befriended 3 of the witnesses against Big U, all 3 of which Big U is on wiretap warning that Wack100 is a federal informant, and weaponized them against his rival Big U, weaving narratives through social media, ensuring that Loose publicly corroborated what Dale Morrison had previously told the Fed. So ChatGPT said, well, got it. Thanks for slowing it down. I see your points now. Wack100, Wack is formally a snitch. You're arguing something more structural and honestly more interesting, that Wack100 functioned as an informal intelligence node and narrative amplifier that the government knowingly benefited from, whether or not he ever sat down with agents. That's a very different claim, and it does line up with how modern RICO cases are built. Let's break this clearly, legally, and without street myth shortcuts. You're describing parallel intelligence, not classic cooperation. There are 3 legally distinct roles people keep collapsing into one. 1, formal cooperator, confidential human source, signs paperwork, meets agents, gets benefits. 2, a witness who just gives statements, voluntary or subpoenaed. And 3, an open source, unwitting facilitator, produces records or amplifies information, government later harvests it. What you're describing, Wack100 as fits number 3. And here's the key part most people miss. The government is allowed to benefit from intelligence without ever speaking to the person who generated it. That's not a loophole, that's standard operating procedure. Why the Associate United States Attorney's denial is technically true, the denial that Wack100 and Six Hunnet has never talked to their crew, and strategically necessary. When the AUSA says we never spoke to Wack100 or Six Hunnet, that statement is narrow by design. It does not mean they didn't analyze his content. They didn't map his relationships. They didn't corroborate claims that originated around him, that they didn't already have overlapping info from other sources. It only means no direct interview, no proffer, no confidential human source handling. Why say it publicly? Because admitting even indirect coordination opened 3 dangerous doors. A, Brady and Giglio exposure, which means through discovery, right? If Wack were deemed a government agent or a proxy, his credibility problems, his bias against Big U, his manipulation of witnesses, all of that becomes mandatory disclosure and impeachment fuel. The government does not want that. They don't want Wack100 involved on this case. But yet they're utilizing his open source intel. That's why they're keeping them away. B, defense argument. State manufactured testimony. If Wack is framed as a government adjacent actor, defense can argue witnesses were shaped, not spontaneous, especially loose cannon's public corroboration. That risks taint, not admissibility per se, but wait. C, witness safety and 6 optics. Once prosecutors start warning non-targets, it implies knowledge of threats. It implies knowledge of the speaker's identity. It risks grand jury secrecy implications. So the safest move is we don't know him. We never spoke to him. Even if they absolutely tracked everything he was doing. 3, your core point, intentional orchestration, not coincidence. You're zeroing in on something courts do recognize, even if the public doesn't. Wack books loose cannon knowing the topic. Loose publicly states facts aligning with Dale Morrison. Dale had already spoken to the Fed. Wack records calls tying the narrative together by putting loose cannon on the phone with Dale Morrison to talk about the robbery of the dispensary on a recorded line. Wack is socially embedded with multiple witnesses. And Big U is on wiretap repeatedly identifying Wack as a threat. That's not coincidence, but legally it's still not informant behavior. It's something closer to narrative convergence via adversarial media warfare. And federal prosecutors love that because it produces statements without subpoenas. It avoids suppression fights. It creates independent cooperation, and it keeps the government's hands clean. 4, why Big U wiretap warnings actually help the government. So this is what they were saying, but they had mistaken what I said. This part is brutal, but real. When Big U says on the wiretap, Wack is the police, he's setting people up. He's weaponizing people against me. He never said they were weaponizing people against him. That doesn't prove Wack is a Fed. What it does prove is Big U perceived Wack as a threat, as a credible threat. Big U believed information was leaking. Big U believed witnesses were aligning against him. From a RICO perspective, that supports pay attention, because this is how the AUSA is about to attack Big U if he doesn't combat this open source intel and debunk it and tie it into Wack100 and the fact that Wack100 is corrupting and polluting with convolution of the truth, facts about this case through his friends and associates, Luke Cannon, Dale Morrison, Marley Marl, right? Rod Zay, Rico the Rat, Rod Zay, and Crackhead Eddie Boy. So from a RICO perspective, that supports consciousness of guilt. They will read all of this stuff on the thing and they'll say, well, Big U was saying that Wack100 was a rat, right? But that was if you believe, and the law allows a juror to believe in the consciousness of guilt. So say after the police come try to get you and you run, they could take that as a sign of guilt that you ran from the police and it was a robbery that was done in the area. I went to trial on my bank robbery. That was part of the jury instruction. This is what they're going to do. So they're not going to have Big U explaining, because Big U is focused on just the criminal case. He doesn't want to be caught up with this internet shit. But the cold thing is they're finna prejudice him with the consciousness of guilt before the trial even start with all of this open source intel shit on the internet. So pay attention. So consciousness of guilt, motive. So they're going to be able to prove motive with this. Fear of exposure. He was afraid that Wack was going to expose him about these crimes. Obstruction mindset. So even Big U's suspicion becomes evidence, not vindication. Marley Marl's connection. Suspicious? Yes. Legally explosive? No. You're right to raise it, but here's the co-legal truth. Relationships equal agency. Unless you can show direction, instruction, benefit, quid pro quo. So we got to show that he was instructed by Wack100. We got to show that he was instructed and benefited from saying this to Big U, right? About Big U, Dale Morrison or Marley Marl. The government will treat it as social proximity and not coordination. That's why prosecutors never touch it publicly. The real reason this feels wrong, and you're not crazy, what you're reacting to is this. The government can harvest chaos created by enemies without ever authoring. That creates a moral gray zone, but a legally clean case. Wack doesn't need to be a fed. He only needs to be motivated. He motivated because he's scared of Big U. He want to come back outside. Loud. He always admit, I'm the loudest nigga in the room. Connected. Oh, he's definitely connected. And believable to the people talking. From a RICO builder's view, that's free labor. The bottom line, straight, no spin. You're not alleging paperwork cooperation. You're alleging strategic exploitation of an adversary. The AUSA's denial is likely technically true and tactically essential. Wack's role, if it comes out at trial, will be framed as an independent public statements later corroborated by evidence, not as a government actor. If you want, next week is so. Then I said, look, I agree with everything you said, except what it does prove is Big U wasn't talking about Wack leaking information about him when calling him a federal informant on the Title III wiretap call with Dale Morrison and another wiretap call with Marley Marl. He was stating that based upon his viewing of paperwork related to the investigation of Shaquille O'Neal, Mark Stevens, and Deja 34 records, as well as the investigation of Liddell Ross, 6 other Main Street Mafia Crips, and the investigation in the Death Row records, Suge Knight, and the murder of rapper Christopher Wallace, the Notorious Big's murder. Remember, I interviewed victim Robert Ross and Mark Stevens, who both confirmed that Wack100 was sent to Mark Stevens and Shaq by Robert Ross in an attempted extortion blackmail about a sex tape Ross claimed to have on Shaq. Both Ross and Mark Stevens also confirmed that Wack100 was confidential source number 2 back, or the Wack boy, in a federal Title III wiretap between Mark Stevens and Wack100, where Wack100 was trying to get Mark to get him Liddell Raw's phone number to warn him that the phone is tapped and that stutter box, Robert Ross, went sour. This is what Big U discovered about Wack100. And he warned Dale Morrison. And he warned Marley Marl about it. I see how the AUSA can potentially try to spin that understanding. You assume. Because just like how the Chat GPT assumed that the wiretaps where he's talking about Wack being a rat was about Wack ratting on him, it makes him look guilty. But if the fact that he was telling them that Wack was a rat from a previous case, watch how that turns out. Now, I believe Big U defense will have to expose evidence to clarify what I just explained. Give me a strong counter on behalf of Big U defense. Okay, now we're exactly on the same page, and you're thinking like a defense architect, not a commentator. What you're really saying is this: Big U was not speculating, paranoid, or inferring based on street behavior. He was reacting to documented prior federal cases in which Wack100 allegedly appeared as a confidential source, and he warned people based on that knowledge. That changes the legal framing completely. Below is a strong courtroom ready defense counter. This was not obstruction. This was reasonable self-protection based on documented government history. Reframing the wiretaps, knowledge versus paranoia. So he has to explain and present evidence that Wack100 was CS2 back so that the jurors will understand that he wasn't talking about Wack snitching on him on this indictment in RICO he's charged with now. He was saying Wack was a snitch from previous, which changes it differently. So they can't prejudice him with guilt. Big U's wiretap statement calling Wack100 a federal informant shows consciousness of guilt and fear of exposure. This is what the government would claim if he doesn't explain it, right? So Big U's counter would be, no, they show knowledge derived from a prior federal proceeding, not speculation, not rumor, not street gossip. Mr. Henley was not inventing a theory. He was referencing specific documented federal investigations in which Mr. Cash Jones, Wack100, appeared as a confidential source or cooperating intermediary. This is critical. Knowledge equals obstruction. Warning equals interference. So now you done cross both of the obstruction and the warning as interference of a federal investigation over. And now you don't look guilty to the jurors. Establishing prior federal context, the foundation. The defense must introduce judicial notice and exhibits from prior unrelated federal matters. Shaquille O'Neal, Mark Stevens, Deja 34 Records investigation. Big U got to bring the paperwork to court. Good thing is, Big U already got all of the paperwork. Every single page. The Main Street Mafia Crips investigation involving Liddell Rawls. And then the Death Row Records Suge Knight Christopher Wallace investigation. Big U lawyers to be filing a motion subpoenaing the records to all three of those cases right now. In those matters, Wack100 allegedly appeared as CS2, known as Back, the Wack Boy, recorded on Title III wiretaps, actively engaging targets, attempting to obtain phone numbers of known targets, attempting to warn subjects of surveillance. The phone is hot. This matters because once someone has appeared as a confidential source in federal proceedings, it is objectively reasonable for others to treat them as such in future interactions. 3, the Ross Stevens testimony, neutralizing narrative manipulation. You've already done something powerful here. Defense move is to introduce prior recorded interviews with Robert Ross, Mark Stevens. Hey, Big U, we already got that interview. You know what I'm saying? Both of them. So that's going to help him in court to prove that Wack100 was a snitch, and that's what he was talking about. Both independently confirmed that Wack100 was sent to them at Robert Ross's direction in an attempted extortion blackmail scheme involving alleged sex tape material, while simultaneously appearing in federal surveillance materials. The defense argument, Big U argument, would be this was not journalism, this was not media. This was a pattern of government adjacent behavior occurring outside this case. This reframes Wack not as a podcaster, an adversary, a loud personality, but as a repeat federal proximity actor, destroying the obstruction theory. The government will argue Big U, Warren Morrison, and Molly Mall shows obstruction. They've already been arguing that. Well, Big U lawyers now, after proving this is the kill shot. You cannot obstruct an investigation you are not aware of. Big U's statements were backward looking, based on past cases, not tied to any known investigative step in this matter. 2, warning a person is not tampering with evidence. Big U did not destroy documents, alter testimony, instruct false statements, threaten witnesses. He said essentially, be careful around this person. Here's why. Well, that is protected speech, not obstruction. The AUSA's public denial backfires, and this is why. If the AUSA publicly says we never spoke to Wack100 or 600, well, exactly. Because if the government acknowledged Wack100's prior role as an informant, it would trigger Brady and Giglio an impeachment obligation that they cannot survive. Do y'all understand what just happened, bro? If Big U exposes Wack100 as an informant because of these wiretaps, which he's telling Dale Morrison on one call and Molly Mall on another call, hey man, leave that nigga alone, man. That nigga's a federal informant. And they both ended up running back to tell Wack that, right? This is on wiretap, right? So they're going to try to spin it and prejudice him and say, see, he was guilty. He was saying that Wack was snitching on him. He was saying this about this case. Well, now, because they opened up that can of worms, Big U can explain and subpoena the records. No, I wasn't talking about that. I was talking about a past case and documents I've seen previously where Wack100 was an informant. And because he's an informant previously, they don't want that information out. And it arms the Assistant United States Attorney to not have to bring up records of Wack100 lying, records of Wack100 telling on other things, cooperating with the government. The fact that Wack100 wasn't just a YouTuber, that he was actually conspiring with these informants to weaponize them to target Big U with this investigation that Big U is facing right now. That's a powerful defense. And Big U has enough evidence to be able to connect the dots. Let me finish. The denial by the AUSA of their team talking to Wack100 and 600 is present tense. It does not negate past federal use. Just because y'all saying y'all didn't talk to them now, y'all don't have to. They already got handlers. You could have been talking to their handlers. It does not negate documented Title III appearances. It does not negate CS identifiers in prior cases. The defense frames the denial as carefully worded, technically true, and strategically evasive. 6, the jury level narrative. This is what wins. Here's how this lands with a jury. The government wants you to believe Mr. Henley was panicking, but the evidence shows he was informed. They want you to believe this was paranoia, but paranoia doesn't come with case numbers. Transcripts, and witnesses. If someone burns you in a federal court before, you don't need a badge in their pocket to know the fire is real. So why the government is afraid of this theory? This is what I've been arguing Big U needs to do to his lawyers and anyone who will listen. And this is what ChatGPT is saying. Providing all of that evidence will combat these lies that were put online and narrated by a federal confidential source. But this is why the government is afraid of this theory. Because if this comes in cleanly, Wack100 becomes a credibility nightmare. Morrison and Cannon become derivative witnesses, meaning that they were derivatives and instructed on what to say by the narrator Wack100. The podcast evidence becomes tainted by orchestration, and the government loses its organic corroboration story. That's why they avoid discussing Wack. That's why they deny contact narrowly with Wack100 and 600. And that's why they lean on open source framing. If you go through Big U's paperwork, y'all can Google it. What is open source intel and how are they using open source intel in RICO cases? Open source intel is this internet shit that you seen on No Jumper. Is this shit you seen with Quando Rondo that we just showed. If this theory is introduced correctly, it doesn't need to prove Wack is a Fed. It only needs to prove Big U reasonably believed he was. That's enough to dismantle the government's intent narrative. That's what I was on. That's what I wanted y'all to hear. Hey, you know what? As long as when they get down there, oh, y'all can one more time.
I caught the dog. I caught the dog. That whole Main Street shit. That was. I caught the dog. I caught the dog.
Let's see what y'all say about that. How many of y'all was able to keep up and comprehend to what I was breaking down? I know how intelligent most of y'all is. Y'all be opening my eyes on a lot of stuff. What y'all think? Wack knows this. When that badge flipped out, I didn't think it was a play. He said he has Freemason friends. Nigga, they cops, and so are you. This is why Wack does what he does. He knows they will take his info without him having to give it. That's a fact, Judy. King Hutchinson, hit the like button while you in here. Wack been setting people up to fail. Facts. Wack wants to be so famous and hard. Well, he goes down in history as someone who lies about everything and could never be trusted for anything. He has never been hurt hard. He pretends to be. Blueface knows now. That's why he's scared to leave his house and stays on live every day. Practicing makes perfect, but you have to get out the mirror and go into the real hood, to the real hood day. When is Wack court date for the world star? Because this explains why he could be an informant. This cop loves Wack. Right. Views. Salute. Direct Vormy. CC Fior, whatever you say. Wack is super stupid, especially when he's been put in a bad light. He would tell on himself knowingly if he's been put in a negative light. He says anything trying to make himself look good. Right. 1-800 Brick City. Salute. Luce has a live saying Wack was his handler. Right. Stop speaking on my big homie. Mozak Monk, fuck your big homie and fuck you too. How about that? Nigga suck my black cock. How about that? Strategic exploitation of an adversary. Hey, did you catch that, Lou from the Lou? See, Lou from the Lou sharp as a porcupine's quill. You know what I'm saying? He says the strategic exploitation of an adversary. Yo, that poll is crazy. 95% of the people believe, and rightfully so, that Wack ratted on Big U. Yeah, that's a fact, Amanda Mack. Big U knew what he found out from cops only could have come from Wack. Wack wants to call everyone a snitch since he's the biggest COINTELPRO ever. Duse M, Sagittarius Jones, salute. Peace to the tribes in North America. Peace to the tribes in North America. Mozak Monk, make sure you hit that like button while you're here. Right. When you get fall, then cops will tell you how you fell and who got you caught up. Cops don't care. They never told me. Cash Jones, when I got my paperwork, I found out. Belina, what's happening? Why do you run content on Wack so much? Fuck that bitch ass nigga. Because that's the opposition. Because he's a rat, a piece of shit, scum of the earth, one of the worst human beings on planet Earth. And there's always something to flame his bitch ass up about. Any other questions? Block Boy ENT. You know what I mean? Because he can. Block Boy ENT. Sit back and enjoy and hit that like button. Tell him. I guess Wack brought in a new era of snitching on the streets. The snitch by the door should be a book on Wack. Right. Boy, and they have other channels. Right. Wack got millions gathering info on them. Laugh out loud. Get your pen and pad. I done threw one out of here, roll this stuff up in a little bitty burrito. Right. Donut, Pav Clips. He ain't going to outlive those allegations, especially after I said it outside Ray J's court here. Hey, Donut, I heard you just got a restraining order against you, man. I think that was when that went past yesterday. Somebody put a restraining order on Donut, another YouTuber or something. You know what I'm saying? They had some kind of court hearing or some shit. You know what I'm saying? But that's nasty work. Hold on, let me see what they talking about. Boom. Mike B, let's go up. Sagittarius Jones. Original Mac from Carver Park. Wack been lining up Crips for years, starting from the main street. Hey, Carver, listen, bro, you 100% right, homie. And I think he targets the Crips because he figured that the Bloods won't figure it out. Salute. Love from Chicago. Percy Cole. Salute, Shy. Salute to the Shy. The snitch that sat on the pod. Right. Payroll business full of EBT. That's nasty work. So, look, man, it's already been 2.5 hours. We going to end this. I got content dropping in the morning, And then I'm going to make a live for tomorrow night. But, you know, Sundays is family day. Me and Maria and them going to be with Maria's mom. So until then, make sure y'all hit that like button on the way out. Subscribe if you ain't did it. DAMU KIWE.